The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the pit completely. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
After an opening 2 rounds in the Deep South, the Autobahn Series prepares itself for a classic of the Midwest. Behaving more like a U.S. version of the old Hockenheim, Road America tends to produce some incredible battles. After the stunning races at Road Atlanta and Daytona, the quality of excitement has a high bar to meet. We'll see if this thrilling multi-class series can once again live up to its reputation as we get ready to watch Round 3 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group's Sportscar Challenge, and you'll see it all live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the prototype and GT1 classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Beside him, calling the GT3 class is Sam Samich Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sam, sports cars have long had a home here at Elkhart Lake. Tell us a little bit about the track they're about to tackle.
Yeah, well, you definitely hit the nail on the head, Joe, when you said it's like an old Hockenheim. This is definitely one of the more popular American racing tracks as far as road courses go, due to its long straights, which create a lot of overtaking opportunities. It's also quite big, 4.048 miles in length, and it has 14 turns out there for these cars to navigate their ways around, and that means we should hopefully see plenty of passing and battling in tonight's 90-minute race. And let's also give you an idea of what the weather is like for these drivers today. It's obviously quite sunny out there, and the track temperature reflects that. Fairly warm, 91 degrees. These drivers get open setups, so hopefully they've used their practice time to good use and got a setup that will get them around this circuit for 90 minutes today. Let's get you around this circuit. Here we go with our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman to the GSRC Aston Martin, so let's do a lap around Road America. At this point, we're flying down the front stretch and looking for our brake marker into Turn 1. This is a great place to pass, with it being the longest straight on the track, but Turn 1 is deceptively quick, and it's easy to carry too much speed into or out of the corner. Trying to outbrake your opponent won't be as simple as you might assume. Now we're heading towards turn 3, which I'm sure is confusing for most, but trust me, that's how they number them. This is one of the most important corners to get your exit right. It dumps you onto the moraine sweep, which is going to weave its way downhill all the way until turn 5. And turn 5 tends to be the most popular spot for an overtake on the circuit. However, not everyone can just chuck it in and make it stick. The drop in elevation makes it pretty easy to overshoot, so it might make more sense to pull an over-under instead of defending. From there, it's a short blast back uphill to 6. The crest makes the car light, so leaving your braking too late will make it very tough to get the car to turn into the apex. There's not much time before the fast right-hand sweeper of 7, which will definitely require balancing the car on the throttle. Out of there, you're taken into the hurry downs. I've seen lots of sneaky passes happen into here. Turn 8 is a heavy braking zone, and if your opponent gets a bad exit out of 7, a surprise attack can sometimes get the job done. Switch sides quick because you'll want a nice wide arc into the carousel. All the way around this thing, the track will drop away, making understeer a constant problem. Most drivers will do what you see Amjad doing here, swing wide and cut back in to get a launch off the corner, because honestly you don't want to suffer going too wide through the kink if someone behind you gets a better run. The Aston has a lot of downforce, but even in this car it takes a lift to make it through. Now we approach Canada Corner, which is another place where you'll see a lot of pass attempts. The bending track means you have to swing it in from an angle for the braking zone. For some reason, getting the cars to turn into the apex is just very difficult here. It's not the worst thing if you miss it though, because 13 is a very brief jaunt away. It's quite blind and fast, so what seems like an easy bend winds up being pretty tricky. Finally, that brings us to the last turn, which if you're smart, you'll late apex this sucker as much as you can. There's a super steep climb back up to the start-finish line, and carrying speed will help keep you safe from attacks into turn 1. Hopefully, you've kept the car in one piece and can now finish a lap around Road America. Obviously in the powerful GT1 car, that makes a little bit quicker lap than you get in some of the slower machines here on the iRacing service. But for a quick update on the points, let's go to Bill Zahn.
Okay, so with a pair of races in the book, we have a little more to look at than we did last time. Now keep in mind that at this page in the calendar, these point totals are the raw totals and don't reflect the 2 drop races allowed for in the rules. Starting with the Prototype Driver Championship, the top 3 are separated by a mere 4 points. Itachi Motorsports' Jason Girard, who won the season opener at Daytona, is out in front by the slimmest of margins over Talon's Bob the Blade Tinsley. Tinsley is winless, but is the only driver to podium twice. Autobahn's West John Ulmer took the win last time out, climbs 3 spots into 3rd. And when it comes to qualifying, the Big Cheese has been bubbling hot, a pair of bonus points for 2 poles so far this season. Rainier Racing's Jimbo Pfeiffer, who has yet to podium, is just ahead of Ryan Bird of Autobahn East, who managed a 3rd at Daytona to start off his season. In the GT1s, Paul Oh My Darling has scored 70 out of 72 possible points. The only thing that has kept the privateer from being perfect is he has yet to earn any pole bonus points. Trying to keep pace is fellow privateer Wojciech Swierdowicz. A 2nd and a 3rd has the rookie 8 points back. Defending champ Stephen McGarvey of TMC Carbon shot onto the overlay, up 3 spots despite no podium so far. Struggling to finish inside the top 5 during races are Autobahn's West Billy Smith and a 3rd privateer on the overlay, Troy Schuster. In the GT3, fans and commentators alike had been waiting for Laura Costa to make his presence known, and here it is. And you'll see him at the top of the chart. Costa has a win and a 2nd so far. Rainier Racing's Bradley Haley sits in 2nd, his best finish so far, a 4th last time out. The big mover was veteran Robert Jackman of TMC Carbon, up 6 places into 3rd. Dave Hill of TMC Crimson and Scott McGarvey of SRN Motorsports round out the overlay. McGarvey and the only driver to earn a red arrow. In the team championship, the arrows tell the story. TMC outscored the highest other team on the overlay by 18 points, jumping them up from 5th to 1st. All the other teams politely filed down a spot, and it should be noted that Clan AOD.net finished 2nd overall at Road Atlanta. That was a little help from Alex Simonek, Carter Kundinger, and Chandler Rubrick, all chipping in points there. Joe?
So now that we know how that sits, let's familiarize our viewers with what this series has to offer with the race details. Obviously, they've got 5 different makes of cars and 3 different classes. Prototypes are just the HPD. GT1 cars are the Aston Martin and the Corvette C6. And then, of course, the GT3s are the Ford GT GT3. And then the Mercedes AMG are going to be out there duking it out in that slowest class of the 3. 90-minute race today, which is what they consider an endurance race in this series. Shorter ones tend to be 60 minutes long. They do have open setups, as Sam mentioned at the start of the race, so these guys will be tweaking them all week long, and some of them potentially up until just now to try and put them to their favor. They do have one fast repair, and if you're new to iRacing, what that is basically a spare car. If you damage yours, any sort of damage, you can get a completely fresh one at any point in the race, but you can only get it once in this case, so you might want to hold on to it. They do have an incident limit, 36 incidents, and if you accrue those, you will be out of the race, disqualified on the spot upon your 36th incident, and that is a good example right there behind the graphic of what an incident is, both going off the track and into the barriers. Lauro Costa, meanwhile, taking care of last chance qualifying to get his time in with 6 minutes to go to the race. Now, Sam, you said there's a lot of passing spots out on this track. What are some of the common places you expect to see drivers try to send one up the inside?
Well, one of the most popular places, of course, is the Turn 1, which is what we see Lauro Costa coming to here, and you can get an idea of why it's such a popular overtaking zone. Just look at how long the straightaway is. It goes uphill and then kind of goes downhill towards the bottom here, and that's Turn 1. That's definitely going to be a popular overtaking zone. Turn 3 at the bottom of the hill here, it's kind of a passing zone, but really your best bet is to try and stay behind the car in front and set them up for passing Turn 5, which is the right hand at the bottom of a very steep hill there that Lauro Costa was about to go into. Another good couple of passing zones on the track are also the Hurry Downs, which is in the middle portion of the circuit, capitalized by the left turn 8. Not a great overtaking zone, but you can definitely make something happen there. And also at Canada Corner, right-hander at the end of one of the other faster portions of the circuit. Unfortunately, Canada Corner is also a bit of a trouble zone. We have seen some torn-up cars there in the past.
Yeah, with that heavy braking, there's that little kink in the braking zone. I think that causes a lot of miscommunication on whether drivers are going to defend or not. And the last second, if someone decides to hold to the right, you see a lot of cars come together. Now, Bill, you were watching the pit strategy, and you had some thoughts on how this is going to go for this 90-minute race.
Well, there are a couple things. 90 minutes, this is the fun part. This really makes things interesting. First of all, I'm not so sure if this is a 1 or a 2-stop race. We'll know right away. If these guys can get to the 45-minute mark, we know that some of them will be able to 1-stop it. My guess it's a 2-stopper, one of them being a splash and go. But the really interesting point for me is the tire strategy. When we get to the 90 minutes, the longer the race, if you decide to change tires, it starts to benefit because you're on those new rubber for longer. If you have an hour race, there's really not enough time where you can make up any advantage for changing tires. So I really think it'll be interesting to see who wants to say do this without taking tires. And why that's so important is for newcomers to the series would need to understand this. When you do fuel, you have to wait till your fueling is done before you can change your tires, and it takes about 20 to 25 seconds to get all 4 sets of tires on there. So you're going to lose a lot, but you make it up later. We'll see how it plays out.
And the other thing that I always worry about at this track, Sam, is there we see that climbing hill up the front stretch. That's also where they come into the pits. So anybody who runs out of fuel, it's almost impossible to try and coast back.
Yeah, and the other thing is how long this pit road is, and it probably doesn't help these guys that GSRC is broadcasting this race, because throughout other series we've had over the past couple of weeks, we've had a lot of drivers running out of fuel on the final lap or in the closing stages. They've had to come in and top off with fuel, and that is a very high possibility today, mainly due to just how big this track is. When tracks are large like this, you go by the pit entry less, and so, like I say, Joe, not only do you run the risk of running out of fuel coming out the final turn going up a hill, but it's a 4-mile track. You could run out of fuel if it happens somewhere over turn 5. You're going to be in for a long tow time.
Yes, and I think I concur with what people are saying in our chat, that I'm pretty sure this is going to be a two-stop race. This is a very thirsty track with the stop-start nature and very fast straights. I assume some drivers might be a little tight as we see qualifying not quite going so clean for Lauro Costa there, and I'm not sure what HPD that was that just went by him. Looks like that was Scott Corbin, who unfortunately has gone off. Let's look at a replay from a different angle. From on board, I don't think we got a sense of just how close that was. And also, really a good example right here. Yeah, just a miscommunication there, Sam. Exactly what I was trying to mention earlier about the weaving nature of that straight.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, Joe. That's a run down the Canada corner, a very great overtaking opportunity, but as you mentioned, it's not exactly straight, and that means that it can cause a lot of troubles as well. The more eagle-eyed viewers, or the people who have raced on this circuit or seen races at the circuit before will also know there are very close walls. It's a very narrow funnel through that portion of the circuit, and so if a wreck does happen, it can clog up the track, which is very bad considering how fast the cars are going when they fly through there, because they've pretty much been not necessarily wide open, but on the throttle ever since they came out the carousel all the way through the kink. They are traveling at very high speeds before they get into Canada corner.
Now, Bill, excuse me, because this is your class, so I'm going to go to the HPDs here. We saw Ulmer get another win, which isn't too surprising with him really liking these American tracks. And this is yet another one that he's known to favor. Do you think the Big Cheese can capitalize in the land of the cheese?
Yeah, he likes American track, and this is Road America. So they even, if you had any doubt, they even named it so you wouldn't be confused. Yeah, I think so. I think he's got a real shot at his qualifying's a little bit off, but he's within a half second of the leaders. David Williams up there right now. We'll see what. He's always a question mark if he can actually bring that thing home. You didn't see him anywhere close to the podium on the overlay there for the prototypes. We'll see what's going on. Gerard and Tinsey should be tough. They are all here today. Simonik, keep an eye on him. He's surprisingly sneaky, sitting back there in 6th position. He has a tendency to podium, so watch out for him. You know, in the GT1s, what's interesting is the manufacturers there. A lot of Corvettes seem to be doing well, but yet right now on the provisional poll, it is an Aston Martin. Sveridovic has that car up there in front.
We were surprised by that as well, expecting this to be a Corvette-centric track with them liking the long straights. And you mentioned Simonik. He definitely did well with his second place, and he kept John Ulmer honest during that race. He certainly was threatening during certain parts when traffic came into play. So I think Simonik has found his feet in this series. Now, you said also that, you know, we've got Gerard and Tinsey and Williams all here. Well, we had them all there at Road Atlanta, but they all took each other out in turn one. Do you think we have anything to fear of that repeating itself at this track?
Well, if we do, there's a guy that's sandbagging back there, currently sitting in 16th position, Pac-Man John Paquin. I'm not sure what he is up to. I know that he is faster than what he's showing us right now, so if there is a problem, I like the way the Road America lays out early. I think the first corner is pretty straightforward. Corner 2 really isn't much. Corner 3 is pretty straightforward. By the time you get down into 5, you should be pretty well single file by then. So I think we're in good shape that way. But keep an eye on Paquin back there. Not sure what he has up his sleeve.
I'm not entirely sure either. Well, qualifying seems to have ended, and as we mentioned, this was the last chance qualifying. To explain that a little bit, they separate the classes. Each class gets 15 minutes to qualify with just the other drivers in their class. And for those who could not make it for the time because of real-world obligations, or they just have elected not to for whatever reason, they can do mixed class qualifying for these final 15 minutes. Looks like everybody has got their lap in, so let's go through the grid on the pole. It is going to be David Williams with Jason Gerard on the outside, starting in second. Robert Tinsey will begin the race in third, which is impressive considering he got here with very little practice time. Apparently he was in Disneyland visiting with his grandmother so that she could see her great-granddaughter, Robert Tinsey's daughter. So very nice for them to be able to spend some time, but obviously has put him a little bit on the back foot. Let's see if he can perform under pressure. John Ulmer will be starting in fourth with Mark Schindel in fifth. Then it's going to be Alex Simonik starting in the 6th position, and then the outside of row 3 will be Mark Wilson. Daniel Gralti will be starting in 8th, followed by Elliot Mimi in 9th. Dino Topic can't seem to find the pace here. Had a little bit of a mistake on his last opportunity to put a lap in, and that set him even farther back. He's starting in the 10th position. Ryan Bird will be starting in 11th, followed by Scott Corbin, who we saw have an incident during his qualifying, in 12th. Alan Haysbeck will start in 13th, followed by Sean Reese in 14th. Then, rounding out the prototype field, it'll be Tim McLeish in 15th and John Paquin in 16th. Bill?
Okay, my wife is getting tired of me taking her to dinner at McDonald's because all of my money is going to the GSRC fine jar for mispronouncing this name. So I've been working on it. I think we're good, honey. We're going to go to Outback Steakhouse here after the race. On the pole, in his Aston Martin, is in 17th position is Wojciech Swiatkowicz.
Nicely
close.
done.
Okay. Tony Schuster. We come with a bunch of Corvettes here. Tony Schuster, Billy Smith II. It's Troy Schuster. Sorry, Billy Smith
You got
II.
tripped up by the easy one.
All right. Paul, oh my darling, Leif Peterson and Matt Quinn in the 22nd position overall. Back to another Aston Martin, defending champion, Stephen McGarvey. Then you get down to some more Corvettes. Paul Lindsay, Clark Archer, and Kevin Santana. Ryan Huff and Robbie Morrison in the 28th. 29th and 30th spot go to Carter Kundinger and David Sockrider. And then the final one in the GT1, Sam, is Matt Owens.
Yeah, and then we get to our GT3 category, where the pole sitters are Mercedes, Benjamin Hackerson, and we see a lot of Mercedes cars up here in the GT3 field. That being said, the drivers 2nd and 3rd in class, Dave Hill and Scott McGarvey, are in 4 GTs. Now we get to the Mercedes. Laura Costa in 4th, Ross Booth 5th, Trim McKenna 6th, Sheldon Rosenbaum in 7th, and Bradley Haley 8th in class, a Ford GT of Pablo Silveira there in 9th, and then Sheldon Woloshin rounds out the top 10 in GT3 in his orange number 53 machine. Robert Drackman, David Tejeda, and Mark Kudrowski outside the top 10, as well as Robert Sklanka. And then we get to Chris Pence and also the driver of a number 46 machine you see there, Boafia. Those two are going to be starting from the pits, and I don't know about the status of Brett Trojin, who's Brett Trojin is a GT3 driver, Boafia is a GT1 driver, and Pence is a prototype driver. Now, there's already been a record set, Joe, before the race even started. Boafia's pin was at 1600 just a moment ago. That's why it's being forced to start from the pits, because that's not a good record to break.
Well, actually, they do have other reason for starting him in the pits, but I'm sure there are people who are grateful that he is starting from there. They did not put in a lap time that was fast enough to be within their class. So if you start behind a slower class leader, you must start from the pit lane, because they will be released before the slower class gets there. However, it will empty you out on the tail of your class, which is why they have them start from the pit lane. Again, that's Pence and Boafia, for those who are keeping score. Now, wow, look at this, Bill. Coming across from turn 1 to turn 2 there was a lot of dirt on the inside of that of the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, that's something this series has talked about, too, that the track gets you can see how it's rubbered in already as well, too, because all these cars out here putting in a lot of time. They've been talking about maybe cleaning the track, maybe starting it a little cleaner. That really makes it hard on the faster classes who like to make their passes sometimes offline. They get dusty out there, get in the dirt. That can be problems. And just to follow up on that thing you were talking about there, where you don't qualify in your own class, that's one of the reasons I always make sure race in multi-class racing that I always race in the slowest class. There is nothing more embarrassing than actually being slower than one of the drivers in the class below you. Oh, I hate that.
Well, thankfully, in this case, I think it's because they didn't get a clean lap in. It's not because they were actually
that's what I
too
say
slow.
Too.
So
that's what I try to go with as well.
All right, as we work our way around turn 6 and up into the kink of 7, we've got about half a lap to go. This is just how long this track is. We got through the entirety of 47 qualified drivers, and still we have half a lap to go around this 4-mile course. The roof pace car leading them through. This is the Hurry Downs that you were mentioning being a bit of a passing zone, Sam, where I think in this case, a lot of times drivers are going to have to maybe make a surprise attack to make something work into there.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it an overtaking zone, Joe. I called it that because you put it in the script, but we'll have to wait and see how aggressive these drivers get today down there. Obviously, this long right-hander here, the carousel isn't really much of an overtaking zone either. But then we were talking about the Canada corner troubles earlier. After this carousel, we come to this turn, the kink. Looks innocent, doesn't it? It is far from it.
Yeah, this is, oh my goodness, a dangerous zone if there ever was one. Drivers go off there and very rarely come back without damage or just end their race. HPDs might be able to get away with it a little bit better with all the downforce putting a wheel off into the grass. Otherwise, GT1s and GT3s will easily get loose going wide there. Down into Canada corner they come. With this being late in the day, the shadows very much across the track, cooling them off, hopefully should give a little bit more grip in some of those heavy braking zones, which I'm sure they will appreciate. And you can see, look at all the dirt being kicked up. They have just put a ton of dust across the track. And I'm not sure if that's going to even get cleaned up with all the multi-class racing and drivers being offline. Meanwhile, Williams is going to have control as they come around the final corner. Pace car gets ready to peel off into the long hill up to pit lane. They have to wait until at least here. Williams has control. He takes off, and he's going to leave Jason Girard behind. Has an easy run with the green flag waves here at Road America. A little bit of a battle for fourth place back there. Alex Simonik backs out of it. However, Robert Tinsey strong up the inside of John Ulmer, moving himself into third. Let's go back to the GT1s.
Just coming to the line right now, Svidovic out in front, but there is a battle for third shaping up there. Billy Smith trying to peek in as they go 2 by 2 through one. It all looks okay. The GT3s aren't to the start-finish line yet. They remain 2 by 2, and now taking a peek out in front, it looks like maybe getting it is going to be Troy Schuster. Sam?
Yeah, the green flag just went for the GT3 drivers, and Hackerson and his Mercedes got a nice jump over the 2 Ford GTs behind him. So the battle's on for second. McGarvey on the outside, edging his way in front of Dave Hill, who started second in class. Dave Hill's going to have to hold off Lauro Costa, and he's not going to be able to do that. Costa up to third.
And we had a bit of an incident about 30 seconds ago in HPD's. Mark Schindel kicked this off as multiple cars got involved. Schindel got turned, and then it looks like he also had Gralty and Topic get into one another. Almost became a parking lot. You can see everyone almost coming to a halt. Let's go on board Topic and see what his view was. It looked like he had nowhere to go. Defense from the inside from Gralty. And from way far back, not expecting a car to halt that much, and yeah, just turns him around.
Topic has retired from the race.
Yeah, well, after that, Dino Topic actually banged it in the wall. It looks like maybe in the kink. And he just, he's done early.
Oof, we were talking to him before the race, and he has had a lot of work today, so I think his tiredness maybe has caused him to reconsider trying to compete for the rest of these 90 minutes.
Yeah, Cunlin has had a bit of an incident as well coming out of a kink. Considering it was coming out of a high-speed section, I'm surprised he's able to drive around with it. A bit of a rough opening that, but lots of cars coming around to complete the first lap.
Very large field out here today. They've really increased in size this season. Season 5 for the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge as we switch up to Svidovic, who has lost his pole to Troy Schuster, now leading that GT1 class.
Yeah, Schuster got that done as they went 2 by 2 through corner 3, then he got it done into 5. So Schuster out in front, qualified just behind Svidovic. Man, that just won't come off my mouth. I get my
Svidovic actually drifted off track there. Not sure if maybe he lost focus, could have been fiddling with his brake bias or something, but he manages to get back on course as they brake for turn 5. Pretty much all the GT1s single file, it looks like. So this class has all got themselves a little bit of space. Let's go back to the GT3s and see where they are, Sam.
Yeah, well, Hackerson crossed the line at the completion of lap 1 with 1.1 seconds over McGarvey, but we have a feeling, Joe, I think, that the Ford GT is actually fast in the straight line, especially with the Mercedes of Hackerson punching a hole through the air for McGarvey. So he's able to keep in touch with Hackerson right here, but Hackerson definitely had a nice opening lap. We'll have to wait and see if he can open up this gap even more, although I'm a little concerned for him. If I recall, 2 weeks ago at Road Atlanta, he had pole and he was leading like us early on, but it was in the long run he actually burned his tyres off a little bit that hurt him later on.
Indeed, despite that pole, he could not translate it to a win, and I'm sure he wants redemption for that. Let's see what he can do this time around as they go through the carousel. I don't think McGarvey is worrying so much about Hackerson as he is Costa, who has really been riding up his tailpipe as they come through the kink now. Let's see if he can get a run down to Canada. Oh, and McGarvey looking very solid through that quick right-hander. Definitely allows himself to not have to worry about Costa as much down into the braking. The Mercedes catching up to him as they throw the anchors out. Still going to be line astern with McGarvey second, Costa third.
Another car making an unscheduled stop at the end of the first lap. It was a car running toward the tail end of GT1 field, Matt Owens.
Let's jump away from this for a quick update on John Paquin, who qualified in last in his class. Bill, what's been going on with him?
Yeah, just because I think this is a story we need to track because it could be really important later. He's up now into 10th position. He started in
Guys,
16th.
I think one of our prototype leaders, Sean Reese, is in trouble. He's dropped back to 7th. I think he'd been running up there in the podium position.
Yeah, he got loose. He was running in, well, he was running, I think, in 10th, though. I don't think it was that far up there, Sam. He got loose just in front a little bit, and just in front of Tim McLeish. This was just, I think, maybe coming out of the carousel?
No, this was coming through the right-hander of 7. Meanwhile, Ryan Bird has an off that we can see there on screen, and that is at Canada Corner.
So just to finish up on Paquin, he is up to 10th spot, making up several spots and on the hunt.
Up next on his list is Ryan Bird, who he's rocked up to as they climb up to the start-finish line. Don't think he's going to be close enough. The draft is powerful, but not quite that powerful. Let's close this in 10th by 10th. Down into turn 1. It's going to have to wait a little bit longer for an opportunity. Your leaders are still Williams leading the HPDs, Troy Schuster leading the GT1s, and Ben Hackerson leading the GT3s.
And just to clarify, we have a couple McGarveys. I have Stephen McGarvey, the defending champ in the GT1s. He's currently running in about 6th in class. Meanwhile, Sam, you've got Scott McGarvey. He's doing a little better down there in GT3s.
Yeah, still running in second in class, watching the Mercedes of Lauro Costa behind him. But once again, as they come to the fast portion of the circuit, we expect that Ford GT to be able to maintain his gap there in second position.
And indeed he does. Costa, after his win last round, I'm sure be happy with the podium, but probably wants more than that. Up the hill they go one more time. All the cars in a train of drafting. And, you know, I wonder how much this is going to affect the racing, Bill, if we're going to be seeing as a GT1 car comes out of the pits.
That's Buffy. He actually lost the connection. We talked about his pin being really hydro. He lost his connection to the server before they even went green. Now he's back in, but you still see he's still having some trouble there.
Boy, Pyridine just cannot catch a break. He's had the pace, Bill. He's been one of the fast GT1 drivers, but it seems like in both races in his rookie season in this series, just can't translate the speed into a win.
Yeah, we expected him to have a much better result last time at Road Atlanta. It didn't work out for him. You know, you talk about the size of the track, and one thing that takes out of the picture is traffic. That is kind of when we talk prototypes. That kind of takes away one of the aces up his sleeve that Bob the Blade, that's why we call him Bob the Blade, his ability to get through traffic. It's not going to be quite as big of a factor as it is right now. I mean, we're still racing.
In fact, we've gone on board Williams as he slices his way through traffic. We love to do this in this series, where we'll watch the HPD leader try and have to reach these guys for the first time as he squeezes around the outside and actually behind him. Very close moment with Jason Girard nearly having to go completely off track to get by the car of Robert Sklenka. Let's look at the replay. This is coming through the kink of 7. You're going to see it right here. He has to make an aggressive move. Ugh. Just so that he can try and stay with Williams and not lose touch. Now, he does have a long race, an hour and 20 minutes to go, so he can have some give and take. But right now, Girard's got the bit between his teeth as they fight their way through traffic.
Yeah, and one of the cars in front of the... Oh, wow!
Oh,
That's a very close moment.
We're all looking at it.
Girard, yeah. One of the cars that these drivers would have had to clear, Robert Drachman, was involved in a bit of an incident earlier this lap. He's announced he's about to peel into the pits there, so that clears up some traffic for Girard.
That was Mark Krudowski that gave us all the scare.
And in fact, he held up the car of Robert Tinsey quite a bit, allowing John Ulmer to get right on the back of him. He might have an opportunity to get on the podium. Tinsey is going to stay to the inside. Here comes Ulmer to the outside. These two have come together at this corner before, but this time they navigate it safely. They're going to stay 3rd and 4th, respectively.
Williams has a bit of a break here before they catch the next lap car of Woloshyn.
Ulmer once again getting a draft down the Moraine sweep, and once more Tinsey goes defensive, this time very strong on the brakes for John Ulmer. Can't make it to the apex though, so no over-under for John.
The good news for the prototype drivers, once they get through the GT3s, it is a long way till the back of the GT1 class.
Obviously, the long straights making a big difference in the lap times between the GT3s and the GT1s at this track, allowing them to really stretch that gap out. I'm liking that we're staying on this battle though, because this is a great one between longtime rivals in this series. Although usually in the past it's been for first. Get lucky with traffic coming through the kink. Tinsey not having to slow up. What's going to happen into Canada Corner though? Thankfully, Silveris stays to the left, stays out of the way. Up next is going to be Haley. Lets him through on the left side. John Ulmer doesn't quite get the opportunity, has to wait and look at the time loss. That is the difference that traffic can make around here. And as that splits up, let's go to the GT1 lead. Bill, that still hasn't spread apart as Schuster is not able to shake Svirotovich.
No, they are all running very peacefully. Schuster out in front, Svirotovich right behind him, Darling, Smith, Quinn.
Oh, and the prototypes have come together. David Williams has been caught by Jason Girard. Very close, within 0.2 as they work their way past the car of Lauro Costa. Now they're going to go past Scott McGarvey down the Moraine sweep. David Williams rides in the middle of the track. Now he goes back to the racing line. Girard with no attempt down into turn 5. They've got a bit more traffic. Benjamin Hackison, our leader in the GT3s. A bit of a peak from Girard down into turn 6. Comes back to the racing line.
Williams got pinned behind Dave Hill in the GT3, lost a bunch of track time. And now the race continues here as they work their way around Hackison.
Saved by the bell once again. Lap traffic not allowing Girard to be able to look to the inside. He's in the wake through the long carousel. They're going to have to go the long way around Caradine Buafia. Now comes the kink. This time Jason Girard very close. Right now, within the draft.
Now it's all pace, Joe. There's no more lap traffic in front of him for the next 1/3 of a lap. Here comes the move.
Girard to the inside, down into Canada Corner. Can he make it stick though? And he's got it. Ulmer and Tinsey also having a fight of their own. Tinsey manages to hold off Ulmer once more.
These guys have one more car to get around this Caradine Buafia, and once they do that, they'll have a clear track in front of them too.
Homer not able to get himself a launch off the final corner, and you can see how much that has hurt him.
Meanwhile, we've had a few cars in the pits recently. Bradley Haley doesn't have a hood on his machine. He's been running in the top 10 in GT3.
Oh, more disappointment for Bradley Haley. Another driver having difficulty capitalizing on his speed. There you can see the damage that Sam described on that AMG.
Yeah, I was surprised at one point we had a few cars in the pits at the same time. I almost wondered if they were short pitting, trying to make on one more stop.
Just to update you, Paquin has made his way up to 7th now.
Continuing his climb. Meanwhile, let's go to the mid-pack and the GT1s. Kevin Santana and Robbie Morrison and Ryan Huff all very close together, although Huff is able to split himself from them.
And this is where you have to go for the first battle in this class, as the guys up in front of them are all well behaved right now. This is a battle 23rd overall.
Have to correct myself. Actually, Santana is still on the back of Huff down into Canada corner. Not close enough to make an attempt.
We'll stay on this. There's a prototype coming through Sean Reese. He's about 4 cars back.
See if he disrupts this and allows Huff to break away, or if he slows him down and backs him into the group.
Yeah, go back a little bit as we look at this. Go back to Reese right now. The battle going on here. This is with Jackman involved in a battle. They were side by side, actually 3 wide down this straight a minute. That's Robbie Morrison up there ahead of Jackman. Sandwiched in the middle is Sean Reese, the prototype. Now Reese is going to be able to get this done going into 3. No, he's not. He has to wait. And here comes another prototype now. And no, that's not. That's a battle for position behind him. Oh, that's Archer. That's Clark Archer for 27th position. David Sockrider getting in there as well. And you know, Robert Jackman, who I saw in the battle, he's in 40th actually. He's a lap down.
Just trying to make positions up here. Not amongst these guys.
Yeah, the Coaster is pitting from 3rd. This is the first of our scheduled stops over in GT3 class. One of our leaders. I have a feeling this is a planned stop for these drivers to come in now and make it to the end on one more stop.
Are we sure this is a planned stop? Can they get that far,
Yeah,
Sam?
I think so. I think this is a kind of a splash and go in the beginning. It's a fill and go. Top off and go.
Interesting strategy from Costa. He knows how to do it. Meanwhile, Sean Reese has a big off in the carousel, and he meets the tires for that one. This almost looks like a hardware failure. Let's watch the replay here, Bill.
Yeah, it looked like a hardware failure. I think he had like the Maggie Simpson wheel using there to race with. That's never a good idea.
Just spears off. Very unusual, and that was a very hard hit. Now, he did get the car. No, he hasn't gotten the car going. He's waiting still. But he's not towing.
Yeah, the fact that he's still there makes me think he's
there he goes.
having issues. Yeah, now he's
unplugging the USB and replugging it in did not do the trick. So that's yet another victim in a race that has seen a lot of cars fall by the wayside, either with contact with one another or with the walls. Not what we expected. Now, we do have a special guest who's joining us, who unfortunately is on a bit of sick leave as he recuperates from an injury that has kept him from being out there and competing. Patrick Fleming has joined us here in the booth, a regular in this series. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great. We're a little bit sad that you're not out there battling, but thanks for being willing to come and tell us a bit of what maybe these GT3 guys are experiencing out there.
Well, I'm kind of sad to be watching it from this end, but man, this is a huge field. If this keeps going throughout the season, it's just going to be great for all kinds of battles and new rivalries.
Undoubtedly, the influx of fresh blood has really brought some talent in here as we continue to watch Williams work his way through this traffic. Now, we wondered if Hackson could maybe redeem himself this round. Do you think he's got it in him to turn this pole into a victory this time around?
I think so. I didn't know who he was when I saw him last race, watching from the sidelines. And man, he's got a lot of speed, So that kind of puts Bradley on notice. That puts Lauro on notice. So it's going to be really great to watch this whole race with him.
Well, as we had said before, you're most welcome to hang out in here. We might go to you here and there, but just don't steal Bill's coffee. I'll just give you a warning on that.
Well, you know, the GT, we talk about that GT field with Paquin leaving and Darling going to another class. It really opened it up down there to a bunch of new names.
Well, I actually thought that was going to be really good for me, since I was like really trying to chase them all towards the end. And then Danny Kane came back. Bradley shows up at the end of the last season. I'm like, who's this guy? And then it's like, all right, this is not going to be easy. But it's great. I really am sad I'm missing it.
Well, we wish you the quickest recovery possible, and in the meantime, like I said, the booth is open to you. Meanwhile, let's go to prototypes, because John Paquin trying to get yet another car. He's currently in 8th. Daniel Gralti just in front of him. Let's see if he can grab 7th away from him. Great exit off the corner of turn 3. He's in the draft of Daniel. Down the moraine sweep they go. He's going to duck off to the left of him. Daniel does not fight, leaves it open for him. This should be a slam dunk case, I think. And a nice textbook move from John Paquin. The Pac-Man now grabs 7th place. It's going to be another 2 seconds up to Mark Schindel. And Bill, you've noticed something about Quinn and Darling.
Yeah, the GT1s now are starting to play a little rougher. The politeness is going away. Darling is now beginning to pressure Quinn. He's seen the guys out in front of him start to pull away. Quinn doing a good job. Remember, they're still running in the same order they qualified right now. But now Darling, who has 2 wins already this season, but has not been very good in qualifying, much better when it comes to race time, really seeing if he can work on Matt Quinn.
And if I had to choose between the two, I'd rather be good at racing than at qualifying.
And as we talk about this, here comes the prototype leaders right through to get into the picture.
Gerard's still leading, sides his way past our GT1 drivers. Up next, it looks like Williams is going to have a completely clear straight to just streak on by, no problems, but has put a little bit of distance, between Williams and Gerard.
Now, also, in a minute, maybe we can follow those prototypes when they get up to the leaders. Also running in there, Sveridovic has done a good job of getting back in behind Troy Schuster. Schuster made that pass, but hasn't been running away with it now. So, a couple nice battles up front in the GT1s shaping up.
In fact, that battle that we were mentioning, going for 4th place, down to the inside. Is Darling able to get it done? Oh, almost contact there between Tinsey and Quinn. And now Tinsey is able to finally get by, but boy, Quinn had a wake-up call from that HPD.
That's going to help Darling distance himself now a little bit away from Quinn. So Quinn goes through. I'm sorry, Tinsey goes through. And notice the distance that Quinn now has put on, that Tinsey has put on over Ulmer. Remember, they were nose to tail.
Indeed, both of our top cars have seen, or top battles, I should say, have seen a big gap start to stretch out between them. Tinsey and Ulmer, and then Williams and Gerard getting some distance between themselves.
And then back, Simonik goes a little bit off the grass. Doing what he does is Alex Simonik sitting back there waiting in 5th position. It's kind of he's got pace, and he's also very patient.
Seems to be very good at capitalizing when other drivers run into problems. That gets him podium after podium in the series, but not a win quite yet. I think eventually, at some point, it'll be there for him. Oh, in the battle for 2nd, what happened to Williams? He is now under threat from Tinsey. And if I'm not mistaken, these two are teammates at TNT, are they not?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they would be teammates in the same class, but
Well, no, they're not. Not teammates as Williams actually splits 3 wide coming down the Moraine sweep. Not teammates in the team championship here, but teammates on iRacing in general. We'll have to look it up and find out. I thought at one point that Tinsey was on the TNT team, but I may be mistaken. I'm hearing yes. Yeah. Okay, so I was right.
What happened to Williams is he got stuck behind Billy Smith in the GT1. He lost momentum going from between 3 and 4. Yep.
As sorry to interrupt, but Troy Schuster had to get to the line, and unfortunately Tinsey thought that he had his nose in, but was denied as the door was shut. And this has allowed Williams to maybe stretch away a little bit to try and get himself some safe space. Ulmer is not out of this thing, though, as he is only a second back from Tinsey. We could have a 3-way battle for second if things go right. Or wrong, depending on how you want to see it.
And now they work their way around Sam Sleeper guy of Lauro Costa, who is running 36 overall, but still very much in the hunt.
Yeah, well, considering how fast Costa's pit stop was on when he made that short stop, I'm curious to see where he'll come out when it's all over with. He didn't lose that much time letting those prototype drivers by.
Well, Bill, you mentioned about it being embarrassing being passed by the slower class. Well, Carter Kundinger is currently actually being chased by the lead GT3 of Benjamin Hackison.
He just got by him, Joe. He's been working his way up through them. Yeah, Kundinger had an unscheduled stop very early on in the race. I think he was involved in an incident on about lap 2, so he was giving a couple of the GT3 drivers a bit of a headache trying to navigate his way back up in front of him, but now he's finally done that. Problem is, I think he does have to make the same amount of stops as them.
Nothing more embarrassing than being in the Mustang and watching an MX-5 get by you. I hate that.
Oh, and Lauro Costa trying to make a pass after his early pit stop. And this is the danger that we sometimes see here, Bill, of pitting early. You got to work through slower cars.
Yes, that was, as you say, a pass for position, Joe, as Costa continues to work his way up through the GT3 field. That puts him up to, I believe, 7th in class. So you see it on your screen, actually, on the bottom left corner.
Oh, car off in the background. That is David Tejada that he just passed.
Yeah, that's not going to help him because he didn't lose any positions there. That was all lap traffic. Lap ahead traffic. I went by him.
That was all according to plan, right?
Yeah, it was just an alternate line. Well, just a little bit of a dirtier car, but continuing on, hopefully without any damage from bounding over the runoff area. As we're watching, wow, lots of traffic.
Yeah, this is a real hornet's nest here that this is in. All classes, all mixed together.
It's unfortunately breaking up the GT1 battle that was happening there. Wojciech Swiatovich and Troy Schuster. So that's for the lead in those GT1 cars. So we ride on board Wojciech, as we were riding on board Wojciech.
I expect us to see, Joe, a lot of these drivers go as far as they possibly can on fuel, but it's not out of the question that pit road could be busy in the next 3 minutes or so if anyone's going to try and split this into 3 segments of 30 minutes to see Paul Lindsay in GT1 actually heading into the pits this time around.
Wow, this battle for second in the HPD, sorry we're jumping around so much, is not over. Only half a second between Tinsey and Williams once again. And Ulmer now as well, about a second behind them, and they have no traffic around at the moment. They are coming up on Pablo Severa, so they'll pass him in a second or two.
They get around Severa, then they have Rosenblum to get around, and then they're pretty clean from there.
We ride on board Pablo, looking back at Ulmer streaking by. Gets lucky and snatches that spot before they get to the kink. Whoa, as Sheldon Rosenbaum goes way off track as the HPDs try to overtake him for another lap.
Yeah, and he's running 5th in class right now, but there you see behind him is Pablo Silveria, who is running 6th place in class. He was able to close in on him. Now, he may not try and attempt to pass on track, but this does open the door for strategy to try and break into that top 5 if he can. Although a bad mistake by Rosenbaum there, out of a final turn. And the Ford GT, Joe, we do believe it has a higher top end speed, and Silveria is showing that right now.
Pablo to the inside with ease. Tries to outbrake him. They're about even, but once they hit the apex, Pablo is going to move himself up into that 5th position. Top 5 in the GT3s. Nicely done.
Schindel into the pits, running in the top 10 in HPD.
So we're starting to see some of our prototypes enact their strategy. Makes me wonder, I wonder, Bill, if we start to see some battling for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th between Williams, Tinsey, and Ulmer, if one of them might duck off to try and get out of it and jump them.
Yeah, in fact, we're talking about pits. Mark Schindel, who was running a 6th position, just came in for a scheduled pit stop in the prototype. That moves Paquin now up to 6th spot. I know I keep harping on that, but I think there's enough time for him to be a factor here.
We also saw Ryan Bird head into the pits for his stop.
And the battle for second, oh wow, and the battle for second was shaping up, but Tinsey gets trapped behind Dave Hill going through the kink, and that's going to cost Tinsey a lot of time. Almost looking to the inside, looking to the outside as they come into Canada. He might attempt to cross over on exit as they navigate their way around another lap car.
And I think Ulmer was a little suspect there because he knew that if he tried to stick it in, they've got that lap traffic on that outside line, wasn't able to take it. Gets separated by Scott McGarvey, who now he can overtake, but it giveth lap traffic giveth and lap traffic taketh as they both come in for their pit stops.
Behind Gerard in too.
So is this going to help Williams, who is the only one of those top 4 to stay out? Simonik, what does Simonik do? Oh, Simonik was off. Let's look at the replay. Looks like driver error here. A little bit off the apex, out into the dirt. Oh.
It's not the desired way to enter pit road. Most of the rest of the top 10 HPDs are doing exactly that.
So I guess it's very marginal on making it to the end. Everybody coming in on this lap except for David Williams. Let's see, is there anyone? No, it looks like every single HPD, maybe Alan Haysbeck. No, Haysbeck comes in.
Wow, a whole bunch of GT1s coming in, Bill.
Right, and Gerard got out. Gerard, Tinsey, and Ulmer come out in the same order they went in, but the gap is really big. It's stretched out.
So in all of this, the question is, can David Williams make it back? Did he save more fuel? Did he just forget strategy? What is so different for our current leader that he's able to stretch it one more lap over everyone else?
And now Paul Darling has taken over. Paul Darling, Leif Peterson, and Robbie Morrison are your leaders in GT1. They have yet to come have yet to make a stop.
There we see our GT1 leader. Meanwhile, around the final corner comes David Williams, and he is in this time.
Yeah, and Simonik is out of a race. I think Simonik binned his car on his out lap and had to tow it into the pits and has retired from the event.
Wow, that was a rapid development from a driver we were praising for his consistency. Let's look at the replay of his second incident. What happened here? Did he have help from traffic as he exited? Or did he nick that pit wall? Oh no. Let's watch it from a different angle. Looks like Bill Svirinovich was coming out at the same time. Can't quite get out there too wide. Just tore up the right side of the car with that concrete barrier.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And Svirinovich doing that stop has really put a large gap between him and Schuster. Schuster, I think, took tires. Yes, I'm positive he took tires. Switovich didn't. So there's our first. Remember, they were nose to tail leading in GT1s. Now they're separated by about 20 seconds.
Well, I suppose Simonik is going to have to arrange a meeting with Lemony Snicket after an unfortunate series of events has taken him out of the race. Meanwhile, David Williams has come back out from the pits and resumed where he was. He's in second place, about a second over Tinsley.
Meanwhile, fifth place has switched back in GT3. We saw not too long ago Pablo make that move down into turn 5, down into turn 1. Well, on the exit of turn 14, last lap around, he basically overshot the turn, spun around. That cost him fifth place.
And Robert Tinsley is struggling. He is struggling badly. He's messed up 2 corners in a row. Sorry to interrupt. And that means Tinsley is now all over him. I'm sorry, I think I said Tinsley. Williams was struggling. This has allowed Robert to get right up on him. Can Bob the Blade try and overtake his teammate for second place? All he needs is a good exit and a good draft. They're about even off the corner.
And there was literally 3 seconds when they came out of the pit, so Tinsley has really, either closed the gap or Williams has fallen back into his clutches.
Williams just completely missed the apex on 5 and 6, so I think that was on Williams falling backwards, as once again, Tinsley looking extremely strong down into the braking of Canada corner. It's now 3/10 between them. Up to the final corner they come. They've got a little bit of lap traffic. Could this balk Williams? No. He will get a little bit of a draft to help him out, and I think that might have been his saving grace, as Tinsley not getting a good enough exit is going to have to just close up, but probably not attempt down into turn 1. Or is he? He's closing fast. Look at this. Nothing doing down into turn 1. We ride on board with Bob the Blade. Both cars using every inch of the track, trying everything they can. Once more, Bobby having the draft up on David Williams. He closes in on the Marine, looks to the inside. David does not defend. However, David looking stronger on the brakes, still holding around the outside of turn 10. And now Robert has it. Move Bob the Blade into second. With our first round of pit stops over, let's get you up to date on where each of the class is. Top 5 in the prototypes. Jason Gerard still leading the way after he overtook David Williams very early in the race, has shown no sign of slowing. He's got 6 seconds over Tinsley, who recently we just watched take it away from David Williams. Must be struggling in the race with this setup that he's developed. He's now in third. John Ulmer not able to keep up with these guys. He is currently in 4th position, and a driver who's very quietly run an excellent race to get himself into the top 5 is Mark Schindel, 20 seconds back from our top 4. Let's go to the GT1s.
GT1s, Joe, go ahead and take it. I have some timing and scoring. Do that one for me.
Alrighty, Wojciech Sredovic is currently our leader over there in the number 80. He's got about a 5.5 second lead after pit stops over Paul Darling. Matt Quinn is currently in the 3rd position, having separated from Darling from their earlier battle. And then you move back to a driver who used to be a little bit more dominant when it was the Cadillacs. He's found some pace, Billy Smith, but lately not able to really challenge for the wins with an influx of talent. You round out the top 5, another driver who used to be a little bit farther up in this class, Stephen McGarvey, and that number 1 machine in 5th.
Now, what we have to point out is Troy Schuster, who was leading, took tires, is the only driver of those guys up in front to take tires, so it's going to be a pay me now and get the benefit later type thing. Sam?
All right, what's about to happen? The GT3 leaders here, because they are in the pits and they must be taking tires, because flying by them goes Lauro Costa and into the lead of the GT3 race. Pablo yet to pit, so it puts him in second, but once Pablo does come in, that will put Costa into the top spot.
And is McGarvey up there too, or am I wrong on that? Is McGarvey still yet to
Yeah,
pit?
McGarvey has emerged from the pits
There we go.
in front of McInnes. Boy, a long
There we
stop
go.
for Hackerson. He must have done everything and planning to make a short stop on the last stop, I should imagine.
Last time through, Hackerson was thwarted by strategy from Lauro Costa. Right now, as you said, with a long stop, that puts him behind Costa. But Costa still waiting to pit as he is going to be overtaken by John Paquin. For those who are wondering what the Pac-Man is doing, he's still in 7th, but he's got 4 seconds up to Wilson.
Yeah, no, what's interesting, Pac-Man's stop was 17 seconds longer than all the guys in front of him, so he's back to 7th. He's got Mark Wilson next, but I'm keeping an eye on him.
What's the over-under on his finishing position, Bill?
4th.
4th place, all right.
4.5 is the number, so the under is 4, the over is 5.
And as Bill's warning goes, the betting is for fun only, so...
Tell that to my bookie.
51 minutes left in this race, very close to being halfway done in this 90-minute competition around Road America. If you're just joining us, this is the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge, round 3 in season 5. Compared to the first 2 rounds, this is a little bit tame. We saw incredible excitement, a lot of twists and turns. This one, some good battles, but not quite as intense as we've seen in the opening 2 rounds. That could still change.
The nature of the track, I think that's the difference between the roval of Daytona and the tight confines of Road Atlanta. This is wide open here, big track.
All right,
Opens it up a little bit.
Silvera on screen had pitted, but Lauro Costa continues on.
Yeah, well, Costa made that short stop early on in the race, so he's only got to make one more stop. Will make it probably a bit earlier than his competitors, but he's out there leading right now. Scott McGarvey on a bit more of an orthodox strategy, running in 2nd place. Dave Hill, we saw him get off to a bad start at the very beginning, but he's currently holding down the 4th and 3rd ahead of Jim McInnes. Those two have been running quite close all race long, running 3rd and 4th on track right now. Hackerson moves back up into the top 5 with Pablo stop, and I have a feeling Pablo will be coming out of a pits in 6th position.
Excuse me, I have a little bit of a battle in the mid-pack and the prototypes. Tim McLeish trying to run down Elliot Mimi as they work their way past our GT3 leader coming through the hurry downs. Looks like he's dropping off a bit as Elliott gets a great run coming through the carousel. Is he going to be held up, though, because he's got Bradley Haley coming up to the kink and catches him at just the wrong time. And look at that time go away as the gap shrinks. And here comes the car of Tim McLeish. Down into Canada corner, he runs out of track, not able to overtake. Gets up to the back of him, a little bit of a slide from McLeish through Canada corner. Once again, Elliot Mimi's pace showing itself to be a little bit stronger as he starts to stretch away from the black and red machine of Tim.
And you'll be able to see on the ticker as it goes by that John Paquin was able to get around Mark Wilson, move Paquin up to 6th.
Meanwhile, a little bit farther up in the prototypes, John Ulmer has been hovering just under a second behind the 01 of Williams. This is for 3rd position. Williams has dropped off of Tinsey since their earlier battle after the pit stops.
And this is all pace driven. This is not traffic related. This is the closing. Ulmer is just running them down.
Williams being on the pole, I'm starting to wonder if maybe Williams spent a little bit too much time trying to set up his car for the as Ulmer goes way off coming out of 13A, manages to gather it together. Car starts to slide, keeps it out of the grass for a second time. Let's go for a replay on board.
Sticky cheese, baby, sticky cheese.
Great recovery. Look at this as he comes through 13A, this fast blind left-hander. A little bit too much speed, off into the grass. Must have had dirty tires as he tries to get it woed up for this right-hander and Tokyo drift style up the hill.
And that cost him about a second to Williams. So Williams can take a little bit of a deep breath.
And what I was about to say about Williams, I wonder if...
Oh, mercy.
Wow. As
That was
Ulmer,
Robert Jackman.
how sticky is that cheese?
That's on there with a staple gun.
I'm starting to wonder. But if I can get to my point about David Williams, I wonder if he set up that car more for qualifying and didn't spend enough time trying to make sure the setup is good for the race.
Yeah, because he was really, really fast in qualifying.
Certainly seems to be struggling on pace here. Not really seeing a lot of mistakes from him. It just seems like he doesn't have a fast car. As we watched him be overtaken by Gerard and then Tinsey, and now he's been threatened by Ulmer. He's got a two-way battle in front of him. This is definitely going to hold him up as Clark Archer, actually no, excuse me, that's two different classes there, as Pablo Silveira lets him by. However, Silveira, or excuse me, no, Huff behind him, as now Ulmer is being held up by those two. Huff is in a battle with the car of Archer ahead of him. Whoa,
John,
we're getting very close. In fact, wow, it looks like Ryan Huff got a little scared off the track by Ulmer coming up behind him as he goes off into the kitty litter, returns to the track without any damage.
That was a reputation pass there.
Ulmer gained on Williams a bit. Williams completely overshot the last turn coming out of a hill, and it's costing him a bit of top end speed, I'm sure, down this main straight. He's back up to full son now, though.
So fifth in the GT1, Stephen McGarvey, currently just ahead of Paul Lindsay. He's going to get a bit of a draft. These very powerful cars, though, not as susceptible as some of the slower ones. But wow, look at him start to close in now as he looks to the inside down into turn 5. Paul Lindsay is going to have the apex. Stephen McGarvey tries to fight around the outside, but nothing doing. Give that 5th spot to Lindsay.
And the reason why these guys are battling so tough is because only 2 seconds back is Schuster, who's on fresh tires.
Troy trying to make good of the fresh boots that he put on. He's going to have to overtake some cars in the process, which will slow him down, so we're not sure if this strategy will pay off mid-race.
We can stay on this because here comes Tinsey.
Tinsey sneaks easily around the outside of the carousel, leaves them be through the kink.
And just when I mentioned that it was actually, when I mentioned it was 2 seconds back to Schuster, it was actually 2.2. Now it is 1.6. So he's coming. He can see him.
Down into Canada corner, Lindsay and McGarvey nice and clean, but Schuster's fresh tires helping him break that a little bit later. They're going to have to deal with David Williams, who creeps up behind him. Third place driver going to get an easy opportunity to go by to the inside on the front stretch. Looking through our GT3s to see if we have any battles over here.
It's coming. Hackerson has been running 206s last time around, and that means he is closing in a hurry on not necessarily a battle for third, but Hill and McInnes have been running quite close for third and fourth all race long, and soon I think Hackerson will be on the back of him. You see the interval there right now at 2 seconds.
Hackerson, another driver who took 4 fresh tires, allowing him to start to close in on cars with a quicker stop. While Hackerson, though, has Matt Quinn waiting patiently to try and get around him.
Here comes, we go to, gonna steal you away for a minute. Let's go to Ulmer for a minute. He's in this midst of this. I just got a bad feeling. Ulmer now getting into the mix of this thing here. Schuster has caught up to these guys. Ulmer gets Schuster. Now he's got to work around McGarvey. Remember, this is a battle for position.
Downforce, the HPD comes in handy once more. Braves the marbles around the outside and leaves them be.
Now he gets Lindsay. But Schuster is now there to get these next two guys. He should have them in the next lap.
Hackison apparently unhappy with David Williams.
Yeah, he can afford to be a bit unhappy. He's got about a 4-second... Well, if everything sorts out, he had about a 4-second lead before this all started. And maybe he's worried if some of the cars in front of him don't take tyres on their second stop, he's going to have his work cut out for him. Meanwhile, I wanted to give a bit of a shout out to Robert Jackman. We saw the leaders lapping him not too long ago. He's actually been running 7th in class in GT3, which I think is a pretty good day for him considering the fact that he's down 9th now because he just pit. Considering the fact he had a bit of trouble early on, I think he was off course. A nice solid day there running in top 10 for Jackman.
And Hackison was actually unhappy because David Williams overtook him just on the entry to the kink. Now, my opinion is it wasn't super marginal and just slowed them both down, obviously, or at least slowed down the GT3 car, so I can understand why it upset Hackison.
Here he comes. He's got McInnes right in his windshield now.
Nothing doing down into turn 5. Can he surprise him over the crest into 6? He elects not to. Could get 2 cars quickly in succession with Dave Hill just ahead of McInnes.
Yeah, and just a couple cars behind this, there's a nice little scrap going on in GT1 between Paul Lindsay, Troy Schuster and Stephen McGarvey. Could have a perfect storm if these 2 3-way battles meet on track at the same time.
Yeah, just to follow up on what Sam said, Schuster was able to get around easily around McGarvey down the main straight. Now he has Lindsay at his sights. Yeah, it's gonna... Schuster wants to get this done pretty quick.
2 Hurricanes are about to hit.
Yep.
At the lead of it, Dave Hill trying to hold on. Here comes, whoa, big moment there for Paul Lindsay, and there goes Troy Schuster past him.
And here goes Hackison.
Hackison to the inside of McInnes, and here comes Schuster once again. Or Lindsay once again retakes it from Schuster, using traffics to his advantage. Behind them, Stephen McGarvey could get in the middle of this as well. 2 3-car battles. Hackison was able to get 1. So
yeah,
go ahead.
He's not going to close on Hill here though because of the power of a Ford GT. He's using up a nice draft though.
Oh no! They come together! Troy Schuster and Paul Lindsay turn each other in the first corner, and everybody behind them manages to get through. Impressive.
But Hill was held up a lot. Hill drops to the back of that GT3 battle. Watch him on the outside there in the red car.
Very pretty spin by both of those drivers, though.
Synchronized pirouettes. Let's go on board behind, or looking behind Lindsay here.
And this is Schuster trying to make it 3 wide. Yeah.
It was aggressive. I mean, fair play, but that was going to be marginal no matter what you did there.
Yeah, Lindsay was already in the middle to get around the slower GT3, and then Schuster got in there. The good news is not a lot of damage, so let's get back out there and get at it again.
Some hurt egos, a little bit of lost time, but no body panel damage to either car.
Their bad news is Stephen McGarvey's good news is he was the guy who was battling with them. He's now well out in front.
Boy, that was a popcorn position if we've ever seen one. Stephen McGarvey really just smiling and saying, thank you. I'll just move on up now. Meanwhile, ahead of it all, Wojciech Swiridovich just unfazed in that number 80, leading the way. That could change if he takes tires next time by. We'll see what Schuster can do now that he's lost time. And we aren't done with this battle between Schuster and Lindsay. What's going to happen this time as Lindsay locks him up, heading down into Canada corner. 2 wide through 13. No, Lindsay backs out of it. Wonder if that was Lindsay's apology for what happened in turn 1. Excuse me, no, that would, or no, maybe Lindsay, no, because that was Schuster that stuck it on the inside.
Well, he might have still have apologized. He might just be that kind of nice guy. But when you think big picture for Schuster, that's something he can't afford to do, because remember, he's really, even though they're separated by, probably 3/4 of a lap, he's still racing for the lead. So that spin is going to make it harder for him when the pit stops come through to find him back up front where he was before the pits.
So I take that back. Not an apology from Lindsay, but rather maybe Lindsay reassessing how aggressive he wants to be with Schuster in this moment.
Yeah.
With the race nearly to 2/3 through, everybody's starting to just spread out a little bit, get their own little bit of track. Let's take a peek at our prototype, since we haven't looked at the top of them in a while, because Jason Girard currently 6 seconds ahead. Girard took a win in round 1. However, that first turn incident, the infamous first turn incident at Road Atlanta, put him out of the running for the win there. He really rallied back for an excellent finish considering what he had to deal with. This could put him back on the map for his championship run.
Another retirement from the race. Scott Corbin went on that Canada corner into the wall and has taken it to the garage.
Let's look at the replay. See, it looks like he had a little bit of a lap traffic in the form of Robert Sklenka. There you're going to see that's in the GT1 car just ahead of him. Made him a little unsighted, did not expect him to move over. And it looks like he dipped some wheels into the grass, and that may be what caused him to nose it directly into the tires. Very hard hit.
But Elliot Mimi in the pits with very heavy front damage, but we have a couple more cars in the pits. I'm wondering if this is the start of our second round of scheduled stops. Yeah, Coaster, now remember he was an early pitter in the first round of stops, so this is scheduled. It paid off for him, he got the race lead, but now obviously looks like he's stationary for a bit longer, taking tires this time.
Yeah, because he just topped off last time, it was so early, so this will be a full fuel and tires, I would think.
Indeed, he's sitting there for a long period of time. Hackison is still our leader in that GT3 class. Oh, excuse me. Scott McGarvey is our leader in the GT3 class.
Yeah, McGarvey's been having a nice quiet race there.
So let's see if he can emulate the success of his brother. Oh, and GT1 lead, what's going on over there?
Well, little by little, Darling beginning to run down the lead. He's now within a second. Svidovic out in front by 0.7 of a second, but Darling is probably close enough to be in the tow.
Oh, he's closing at a rate of knots. Just looking at how much later he braked down into Canada corner. Paul Darling closing the gap to Wojciech Svidovic. Now down to 0.8. What can he get off the corner? Way off the apex coming out of the final turn. And that's going to hurt him, giving Wojciech just a little bit of breathing room.
They're both on the exactly, similar pit strategies.
Once again, braking, proving to be the strong point of that Corvette of Paul Darling with the fresher tires. As was that William? Ryan Bird we saw in there. Excuse me. For a second, I thought that was Williams in the pit.
Yeah, Bird's missing the front end of his machine. I've seen him have a few mishaps in the recent laps.
And while that's going, we can also look at Williams. We talked about David Williams. Well, Ulmer has run him down again. He's now probably 7-8 car lengths back.
So we hold on
2 to watch.
To this GT1 lead battle. Darling, half a lap ago, it was 0.8. Now it is 0.5. Coming down the hurry downs into the heavy braking of 8. Once again, closing in. Both of them nice and tidy through the corner. They're going to have some lap traffic in the form of Sheldon Voloshin's GT3 Mercedes.
Yeah, Sheldon's been having a nice race there in GT3, hanging out at the tail end of a top 10 of about 15 cars.
And here comes John Paquin behind them as well. Paquin now in 6th position. He's going to split them temporarily and squeeze his way through the inside down before the break-in for Canada corner, but you can tell that Vocek is feeling under threat as he goes defensive into that penultimate corner.
Volchek would have had the pass made on Woloshin if Paquin didn't beat him to the punch, so that really backed him up.
Also behind them is Billy Smith closing in on these guys as we have an HPD behind them going off. That's Sean Reese. Up the hill they go. Paul Darling closing in with the draft. Go ahead. Oh, excuse me. The battle is on. The draft really helping Darling come up to the outside. Once again, Vocek going defensive, looking for an over-under. Paul Darling tries to get the launch off the corner. Vocek denies him the inside one more time, down into turn 3. All this battling is allowing Billy Smith to close up behind him. Horrible exit coming from Paul Darling. This allows Vocek to finally extend a gap, and now Billy Smith on the back of Paul Darling. Corvette versus Corvette. Darling goes to the inside. Billy Smith holding to the racing line. Braking down into turn 5. He gets about even with him. Taking the apex, Paul Darling denies him the spot. They're now 1, 2, 3 in that order. Vocek, Darling, Smith. Great launch from Darling off of turn 6, but cannot capitalize on it before the kink of 7. Holds behind him, down at 8, sticks his nose out, comes back to the line. Billy Smith in the popcorn position now. Could get 2 spots in 1 if things go south. We've seen it happen once more with Darling involved in that last incident as well.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on this, but the GT3 battle for the lead is shaping up. We've been watching Hackerson run through the field. He's right on the rear wing of McGarvey now, and this will probably be for the lead when they come out of the pits too, considering how long Costa's stop was.
There we see that GT3 battle on screen as Hackerson making good on those fresh tires.
Yeah, I wonder, Joe, if this isn't even worth it.
And Svrivich peels off into the pits. That's going to leave a 2-car battle that is still on because Billy Smith, sorry to interrupt. Wow, very aggressive dive to the inside from Paul Darling as Smith is forced to the outside. Evasive action, still has the run. They're going to be side by side. Much better on the brakes is Billy Smith. Still side by side through the corner. Smith on the marble still manages to find the grip and overtakes the lead.
Yeah, these boys have to get this sorted out right now. They can't afford to be battling while Vocek is in there getting a pit stop and coming out running hot laps all by himself.
GT3 battle for the lead over Scott McGarvey. Peels into the pits. I have a feeling that was a smart decision, considering the fact that I think he's going to have to take tyres, so it really wasn't worth it losing time battling with Hackerson, who won't have to take tyres anyhow.
So where is McGarvey going to come out in relation to Costa? That's the big question.
Well, I should imagine he'll be quite far behind him. Costa had a pretty handy lead over him, but we'll have to wait and see. Oh, I don't think he took tyres.
Ooh. Wow, okay. This is an interesting strategy. All right, prototype cars also heading into the pits, including our leader, Jason Girard. Ulmer stays out. Robert Tinsey is in. Williams is in. Mark Schindel, 5th place driver, also comes in. Pac-Man peels off into the pit entry. So as I said, Ulmer continuing on. Last time it was Williams who extended it one more lap over everybody else. So what can Ulmer do with a clean lap by himself? Girard has been leading most of this race easily. Gerard is in and out. Robert Tinsey exits the pits. David Williams, despite qualifying on the pole, is going to exit out in 5th, which should effectively be 4th once we see everybody cycle back around.
GT1 leaders are in. Yeah, now Schuster has stayed out. He's going to get the lead, but he still has a stop to make. Now, I watched it. Sveridovic, I think he took 2 tires.
Interesting. So not 4. I'm guessing maybe rears?
I think it was only 2.
Sveridovic gets lapped by John Ulmer, who we expect to come in this lap. In fact, he does.
Now, go to pit lane real quick. We have a battle out of pit lane. This is Smith right ahead of Darling. Darling, they can only go so fast. They're on the pit limiter. Let's see who gets the best run out of here.
Darling holding right behind him in. Oh, wow. Sveridovic rejoins right with them. Almost makes contact with Billy Smith, but Smith manages to hold tight to the apex. Look at that. 1, 2, 3 all together after pit stops are done. And we got a 26-minute sprint to the line.
Well, I can say this. Whatever Sveridovic did, they all did the same thing. So whether it was no tires. I saw the car go up on the jacks, but I just didn't think they could get 4 tires done in time.
Swirly stays to the inside as a threat comes from Billy Smith trying to make a pass. Oh, but a spin from Darling. Loops it around. Has to do a quick donut to get it going again. But I think the two of them checking up in front of him maybe caught him a little bit out, and look at him going to the apex, and evasive action just brought that rear around.
Meanwhile, in HPD, Ulmer just made his stop and came out of the pits several seconds ahead of Williams.
So I suppose I was right, as Williams has a big slide into 1. And that's not the first time we've seen an HPD go sideways around a corner here.
Now, Troy Schuster is in. He is your leader. He's got about a 45, 46 second lead on these guys that are running back here. I expect this to be a faster stop for him.
Hackerson, our GT3 leader, into the pits. I should imagine this will be a quick stop.
All right, this is going to be telling. He got thwarted by Costa last time. Is Costa going to do the same once again?
Yeah, Costa's quite far back. I have a feeling that won't be Hackerson's primary concern. Now remember, Hackerson had been battling Scott McGarvey, and Scott McGarvey had a quick stop, so it'll be interesting to see where he comes out with relation to him as Scott McGarvey approaches the last turn right now.
And Hackerson is out of his pit stall.
Okay,
Schuster. A long run to the exit. Go ahead.
We don't need to go there. Schuster comes out in 3rd, ahead of Darling, who had that spin, but about 4 seconds behind Smith and Swirly.
So let's go to our GT3 lead, because Hackerson is off the pit limiter, and he will come out handily ahead of McGarvey. He has some traffic here. Maybe not as handily as what I thought.
But Silvera's right behind him, though.
Silvera's still got the pit. Because he'd been running around the tail end of the top 5, if I'm mistaken. I'm pretty sure he's only made 1 pit stop this race so far.
You're correct, excuse me.
And likewise, I'm assuming there's a case for Rosenbaum not too far behind them. So Pablo has gotten back by Sheldon. Those two have switched positions a couple of times today.
Go, I don't want...
Yeah, Hackerson makes a mistake. Now, this could be the opportunity for McGarvey. Now, he's not going to want to fight Pablo too much here, because it's really that white and orange car behind him that he needs to be worrying about.
But does he know? Is he aware of what the strategy is of Pablo? Pablo actually goes...
I should imagine so, because he would have had F3 on all day and known that Pablo was far behind him. I think he wants to be in front of Pablo to try and put a car between himself and McGarvey, and that's what's happened here.
Exactly, as he gets himself a buffer, and McGarvey is not able to do anything with Silvera through the carousel as they work their way through the kink. They've got the car of Clark Archer, who's going to put a lap on them. This could disrupt things.
Don't need to go there. Just report Robbie Morrison pitting in GT1 lead.
He's going to relinquish that. He needed to make his final stop and allows Srudovic and Billy Smith to continue on their battle for P1 in those GT1 cars.
Man, we'd be calling this a hornet's nest even if there weren't race implications in it.
And our HPD leader works his way past this battle for the GT3 lead.
And you'll see Jim McInnes in the pits, one of GT3 top 5 runners, excellent pit road behind this pack.
You were right about that hornet's nest. Just look at all the different classes all together at once.
And Robert Tinsey right behind it. He's like, how do I get through this crowd?
Well, they don't call him Bob the Blade for nothing, so I have a feeling that Robert knows what he's doing in this situation. So we ride on board with the Blade. Easy doing down the Moraine sweep. Meanwhile, your GT1 battle for the lead is starting to split up just a little bit as Smith is now half a second back.
Tell you what, with Lauro Costa's long stop, we talked about Jim McInnes coming out of the pits as we saw that hornet's nest fly by. I think McInnes is looking at a podium position right now. Once a stop cycles through, because he's got Rosenbaum and Pablo right in front of him who still have to pit again.
And with all the stuff that was happening, I don't know if we reported that John Ulmer was able to jump David Williams into third then, and remember they was chasing him?
They made a quick note,
Did
yes.
we? Okay.
Speaking of quick notes, if Wojciech Srudovic can take this win away from Billy Smith, this means he'll get his first win in only 3 attempts in this series. He has not had a win yet in this, his rookie season.
We have 20 minutes that you look at that battle right there. 20 minutes for those guys to sort it out.
Billy Smith has been in this series for many seasons at this point. We've been covering him, often talked about his speed. How does he fare up against all the fresh blood?
So let's rewind a bit here for a second. They have 5.5 seconds right now over Schuster. But remember we talked about Schuster paying the price for that spin? Imagine that he didn't have that spin early in the race. He'd be your race leader right now.
And you have to wonder, how much does he have left on those tires?
I think he doesn't. Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to be able to catch these guys. Right now, Schuster's goal is to stay ahead of Darling, who also had that spin. So there you have Schuster and Darling, both with spins under their belt so far this race, trying to make up for that mistake. Darling beginning to run Schuster down for the final podium spot.
Meanwhile, over in GT3, the good news for Hakkisen is he's starting to stretch away a gap over McGarvey, who has overtaken Silvera.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good for Hakkisen right now. I almost wonder if he thinks he threw away one last time out at Road Atlanta after dominating the first half of the race and it didn't go to his plan in the second half of the race. Determined to take a win this time around. It looks like he's going to do it, but there's still 18 minutes of racing left to go.
And a lot of traffic to navigate as well. We've seen a number of drivers trip over one another and slow the other class down, allowing battles to start to take place. Despite the long straightaways and better opportunities to try and navigate traffic, it still becomes a major factor in this series.
Yeah, as far as GT3 goes, Joe, I have a feeling the big thing to watch in the closing laps will be the battle for third, because we talked about Jim McInnes having it now. Well, Lauro Costa is not far behind him, and he has those fresher tyres, so I almost wonder if Lauro will be able to pass him for third. But then the next thing Jim will have to worry about, I think, will be Dave Hill, who's running in 7th right now, but I think he'll be moved up to 5th once Pablo and the other car ahead of him come into the pits. It'll be interesting to see if Dave Hill can get up there as well. And in fact, the other car was Sheldon Rosenbaum, of course, and he is into the pits this time by.
There you see the Mercedes driver finding his box, getting fresh fuel and tires. Now, we've had a driver that we've mentioned a couple times, but just kind of been quiet this whole race, Bill.
Yeah, I like Mark Schindel in 5th position in the prototypes right now. I don't know if he has anything to get to David Williams. Williams has about 15-second lead on it. It depends on traffic. Sometimes it looks like he might be running him down as we look there.
And Schindel spins, actually. That's going to hurt his chances of catching him.
Yeah, that's, I apologize, Mark. Now, spinning in front of him was actually coming back on the track. Oh, it was Paul Lindsay, who actually came across the track right in front.
Hesselbeck. No, maybe not. I think Hesselbeck had a similar incident at the same time.
Yeah, he did. Coming out of turn 8, Hesselbeck had a little spin, didn't touch anything, just continued on after the track cleared, so I'm not sure if it's worth going to Allen's incident.
All right, well, if you want to look up commentator's curse in the dictionary, that would be it. You put the camera on Schindel and he has an incident. Well, now he has more trouble to work on. 6.5 seconds above Paquin. I didn't think John had enough to get there. I think he does now, so Paquin beginning to close in, looking at the top 5.
Not a bad run considering the day, but still a bit surprised, and I think we're all kind of wondering what John's doing since he was second fastest in practice. We know he could have qualified much better. Oh, and what's happening to Smith? Billy Smith is off out of turn 5.
Yeah, Leif Peterson and Sheldon Rosenbaum are being shown off course as well.
Oh. Billy
Peterson
Smith, he might have got distracted by Peterson, but it didn't really have anything to do other than maybe breaking his concentration. Peterson had a spin.
Yeah.
We're going to
update you that Rosenbaum was a completely separate incident from this. He just spun coming out of another turn.
almost look very similar to Billy Smith's, actually. Now, we don't actually have oil on the track in iRacing, Bill, but it sure looked like it.
It sure did.
So we come back live. Both drivers are able to continue.
That battle for third, I talked about brewing in GT3. It's on because Costa passes McInnes. McInnes tries to cross over coming out of turn 5. Doesn't happen, and Costa's in front, and now they'll have the prototype of Daniel Grolty separating them.
So, Costa, where does this put him now in terms of strategy?
Well, they can all make it to the end. This will drop it. This moves them up to 4th place for now, but 3rd place when Pablo finally comes in. And boy, Pablo has gone a long time. I'm sure he'll have to bring that in eventually, and he won't have to take out much fuel. It'll be interesting seeing where he comes out.
Okay, let's look at this battle. I guess this would be for 2nd position now, because Schuster has got around Billy Smith. This is Schuster being ran down by Paul Darling. So let's take a second and review some of our GT1s here. The only guy that hasn't had a problem is Wojtek Schwiderowicz. He's been clean the whole time. Schuster had an issue when he got together trying to make a pass. Darling had a spin. Billy Smith has just had a pin. So all these guys here, but right now Schuster trying to fend off Darling.
Well, let's hope the commentators, Chris, took a break on that one. You talking about Wojtek, the only one without a mistake.
He's clean, yeah.
But man, this battle definitely heating up as Darling now on the back of Schuster. And that's David Williams in the prototype just behind. He's going to slip on by. Oh, but a big mistake there
it comes
from Schuster. Unfortunately, not a place that you can really try and overtake around the carousel. Darling says, I'm going to try it anyway. Sticks his nose on the outside. Can't quite keep the momentum. He's still on top of him. Stays single file through the kink. This is where he needs to run. Through the kettle bottoms, down into Canada corner. Sheldon Rosenbaum just ahead of him. Is the traffic going to play a role in this? Oh, they close right up on him. And it's going to be difficult to try and get by on this short straight. Is Schuster going to be held up? This could be an opportunity for Darling. He gets up the tailpipe of Schuster. Nothing doing down into the final corner. They're still stuck behind Sheldon Rosenbaum, who goes off track, slips a little bit wide, lets them through. Darling now has the draft up the hill, across the start-finish line, as we see a smoking car in the pits. We'll have to look at that later. Darling looking to the inside, down into turn one. Schuster does not defend. Can he outbrake him into the corner? Schuster lets him through, goes for the over-under, gets the launch off the corner, but it's not quite enough.
Remember, Darling on a little fresher rubber, we believe. Schuster changed on tires the very first stop. Darling did it on his second stop.
Going back to see who that smoking car was, Mark Kudrowski, and I'm not sure how or when this happened. Looks like it was quite a long time ago.
He's running 26 laps down right now, so it's not the first issue he's had today. Meanwhile, it's lap 36. The significance there is Pablo Silveira pitted on lap 18, and sure enough, another 18 laps later, it's lap 36 for Pablo, not for the prototype leaders, which of course are about 5 laps ahead of these guys. Lap 61 there, you see in the top left corner of your screen.
10 minutes to go. Let's once again give you an update on our top 5. Jason Girard still leading in that number 9, the Itasha machine, looking likely to grab his second win of the season. Robert Tinsey with a great run into second. John Omer also an excellent way to get onto the podium yet again with a solid season so far. David Williams currently running fourth, not too far behind the Big Cheese. And then finally, rounding out the top 5 is the quiet runner of the day, Mark Schindel. Bill?
Okay, Wojciech Svidinovic out in front by about 7.7 seconds, happily cruising right now after the Billy Smith mistake. In second place, it's Paul Darling being able to pull away a little bit from Schuster. Both of those guys have had their issues. And then, of course, Billy Smith was battling for the lead, had that mistake, let Schuster and Darling get around him. He sits in fourth, and he is about 10 seconds up on Matt Quinn, quietly rounding out your top 5. Sam?
With less than 10 minutes left to go, things are looking really good for Hackerson to win this race in GT3. However, I'm not so sure Scott McGarvey will hold on to second place, because Lauro Costa, we talked about him going fast on those newer tyres, has been running McGarvey down. We'll have to wait and see if he can get him for second place in the closing moments of this event. Jim McGuinness currently running in fourth position. He had been seen alongside Dave Hill for a lot of the race, while Dave Hill is currently in fifth position because that pit stop in the closing stages by Pablo Silveira dropped him back to sixth.
What is McGuinness in a battle? Did I see Leif Peterson make a... Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, that's how it goes. There is a battle shaping up in prototype though, because John Ulmer ran off at the bottom of Harry Downs this lap around, and that brought David Williams quite close to him in that battle for third.
I'm not sure that we can be totally sure the cheese will stay on the pizza, as David Williams very strong on the brakes into Canada corner, allowing him to get more opportunities to think about an overtake here in the closing stages.
I don't know how much fuel they have in the tank, but there's a lot of personality out there between those two drivers.
Oh, definitely. The West driver versus the Texas driver. What can Williams do? He's got the draft now. Look at him. He's showing himself in the mirrors. He knows that he's stronger on the brakes. That car looking much better in the slow zones. And let's stay on this, but I went and checked my stats real quick. Benjamin Hackeson did not show for the first round and had a second place in round 2 at Road Atlanta. So if he can take a win, an average finish of 1.5. Here goes Williams coming from a long way back. They come together side by side, and Omer spins.
I don't know if he spun or if he was pushed. I think Williams might have had a little help there.
Looking at it from the chopper.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got a little bit of assistance from the Fighting Marine of David
And
Williams.
he's giving it back. We're going to watch it one more time, but Williams has given the spot back.
I'm a little disappointed in that because I just finished the Stephen King book. I needed some good reading material this week, and the forums were going to be great if that... Yeah, he gave it back. I'm going to have to find something else to amuse myself this week.
This is not over by any stretch of the imagination because I think now John Ulmer is a little bit damaged. Williams caught him very quickly in a straight line. And just to confirm, Ulmer has gotten on the radio as Williams asked if his car was damaged. He said yes.
Well, maybe David can back up a little bit and let Ulmer slam into him once or twice and try to even things up.
I don't think he's that sportsmanlike.
Okay, all right.
So I'm curious to see how this will play out, though. Will he wait behind him? Because he's not making any visions at overtaking him. Here he comes one more time. David Williams, he lifts. I think he's conceding the position, Bill.
Well, that's some nice sportsmanship. I'm a little disappointed because I was looking forward to the amusing comments in the forum, but that's... These guys are teammates that you pointed out earlier, Joe. That probably helps a bit, too.
No, that was Williams and Tinsey that are teammates.
Oh, well then what's going on here, guys? Let's start talking about each other's mothers. Come on.
I think this is just great respect from two
right.
top-tier prototype drivers. We've seen both of them perform incredibly in the Pack Majors, here and Autobahn.
Well, if you want to read something interesting in the forum, Bill, I don't know what's going to be brewing up for this battle for second in GT3, but I think it is coming. Last lap around, Lauro Costa was... And we got trap battle here.
Oh, and Billy Smith and Troy Schuster. Schuster to the inside down into turn 5, but Billy Smith is not done with him. Look at the launch he got off of turn 5. Comes back at him, but it's going to be the outside of 6 once again. A little bit into the marbles, but still he finds that grip. Billy Smith tries to stick his nose into 7, but nothing doing through that single file corner.
Yeah, Schuster just had to go through this with Paul Darling, and now he's got it one more time with Billy Smith. Newer tires on Smith's car.
After what was looking like a really great race for Billy Smith, it's starting to come undone in the closing stages as he loses position after position.
Well, actually, Joe, Billy Smith was battling for the lead. He lost it to Darling, and Schuster fell back to 4th. So this is Smith trying to come back on Schuster here.
Excuse me?
But remember, all of these guys, Darling, Schuster, and Smith, would all be in the hunt for the win if they hadn't had the incidents.
Boy, and as we ride on board with Smith, you can tell that Schuster is pushing. He smoked him coming through Canada corner. Managed to keep it on track. Oh, but he's way off the apex through the worst possible corner. You could want that to happen. He goes to the inside. Billy Smith holding him down to the inside, trying to get a little bit of a draft. They get very close, almost banging doors as they cross the line. Now they separate. Schuster all the way to the inside, creeps back to the racing line. Billy Smith with just a nose ahead. Schuster stronger on the brakes coming into turn 1. Billy Smith once again trying to make that outside work. This time he's got a little bit of a better run. He's got a nose ahead down into turn 3. Still going to be around the outside as Schuster forces him to take the offline around the corner. Gets the grip off of it. This time it's going to switch back to the inside, down into turn 5. It's a drag race. A little bit of a better momentum going for Troy Schuster. As they go down the Moraine sweep, he's got an edge ahead. They've got a prototype coming up behind them. Billy Smith going a little bit. Oh, and look at that. Schuster goes wide. Billy Smith psychs him out in a game of chicken, and he takes the spot.
I thought it was Billy Smith breaking early, giving up, but I think it was kind of Schuster just pushing it in there too hot.
Breaking himself. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I think it was my tires are better than yours. Keep going, Troy. We'll see who can break here.
Yeah, here comes that battle for third place right now. It looks like McGarvey has a bit of a gap over Laura Costa, but once again, Costa has been eating into that lead as they have to deal with lap traffic as we enter just 2.5 minutes left of this race, so we'll have to keep an eye on when our race leader crosses the line. Another let's see, that's 1.2 seconds Costa go out of McGarvey that lap around, and now the gap between them 1.1 seconds. Definitely enough time, but will the top end speed of that Ford GT help McGarvey retain that second position?
We'll have to watch and see. Next time by will be the white flag for Jason Girard, about half a lap away from it. There we see our prototype leader now coming through the carousel. You keep saying he's going to take the Rosberg approach, race by race, one at a time. Well, right now looking very Rosbergian as he won the opening round, and he's got a handy lead of about 8 seconds over Robert Tinsey, looking very solid to win here at Road America.
Let's not forget about fuel for these guys.
We've seen a lot of fuel playing a big part, not just in race finishes, but in championships here on GSRC lately.
Yeah, well, one extra car in the pits right now. It's Leif Peterson. He binned it coming out of kink not too long ago. Very heavy front end damage on his number 39 machine.
White flag is out, but let's go to Lauro Costa, who is right behind Scott McGarvey down into Canada corner. He's just a little too far back to attempt it in that Merc.
Yeah, and the problem he's going to have here is McGarvey's going to have a bit of a better top end speed, although
Schuster just spun. In fact, he's in the pits now.
Oh,
Schuster.
Disappointment from what would have been a fourth place finish. Let's see, where was this? Did his tires finally give out on him coming through turn 5? Ooh, puts him off in the dirt. Meanwhile, we got to go back live to our GT3 battle for second place. Here comes Laura Costa to the inside. The speed of the Ford GT apparently not helping. But as they come together, the Ford GT of Scott McGarvey goes around into the dirt.
Now let's see if he can get going again ahead of Jim McInnes. McInnes coming down the front straight. I don't think McGarvey has that much damage. He rejoins the track in third position.
Watch the replay. Looking back. Tried to go to the apex, but there was a Mercedes there, and that Ford just goes around. As we come back live, a number of cars coming together here in the final stages. There we see him continuing on. Meanwhile, just 3 more corners for our overall leader of Jason Girard. Coming up through 13, and then the blind corner of 13A. The Itasha Motorsports number 9 machine comes around the final corner. 2 wins out of 3 for Jason Girard as he crosses the line to win here at Road America.
Yeah, it'll be GT3 leader crossing the line next, Benjamin Hackerson. Took him 1 race extra than what he would have liked to have got the job done, as he still has to deal with traffic even in the closing stages of a race, but he doesn't really need to hurry his way around it. Got a handy lead over Costa, who will actually cross the line in second place, not too far behind, but nothing for Hackerson to be worried about as he comes through this final left-hander, and then this one last right-hander is turn 14 that'll lead him up the hill, and providing he has enough fuel, he should easily be able to power across the line as a winner here in the GT3 class at Road America. Hackerson is going to take the GT3 honours ahead of Lauro Costa and Scott McGarvey.
In the GT1s, Wojciech Swiatowicz saying, "Soup, learn to pronounce my name because you're going to be saying it a lot. I'm second in the points, but I have beat the man I'm chasing, Paul Darling, as Swiatowicz just has 1 more corner to do, and he will win round number 3 in the GT1 class here for the Autobahn Motorcar Sportscar Challenge. Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge."
And in fact, he completes the trio. He was on the podium in second and third in the previous 2 rounds. Now he finally takes the win as Wojciech Swiatowicz takes the win here at Road America. With that, How many cars do we have left on the lead lap trying to finish up here? Pablo Severa comes to the line himself. Matt Quinn as well in the GT1s.
Darley Smith, Quinn, and McGarvey.
Spare a thought for Stephen McGarvey. Wanted to fight for that second place and unfortunately tipped out of the way with 1 lap to go. Oh, excuse me, I'm thinking of Scott. That's Stephen. So confusing my McGarveys. All right, with that said, and on that note, we're going to take it to break. We're going to be back in just a moment. Don't go away, because on screen we'll have all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel, and after that we'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Road America. We just watched round 3 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge, and once again, the end of this race delivered with lots of action and twists and turns to the plot. In the end, up front, The train just kept chugging on as Jason Girard takes another win for the Itasha team, with Robert Tinsey finishing in second. John Ulmer rounds out the podium with a fierce battle with David Williams, who finished fourth behind him, ended up staying behind John despite John's damage from their coming together. Mark Schindel finishes in fifth with a very quiet run that we kept trying to peek in on and didn't have much to say other than good job to him. John Paquin climbed from very last in his class to sixth position after qualifying well down the order. Daniel Gralty came home in seventh. Mark Wilson finished in eighth, with Tim McLeish in ninth and Alan Hasebeck rounding out our finishing prototypes in 10th position. Bill?
Wojciech Sviridovich is your winner in the GT1 class. He was perfect. The only driver who was able to not make a mistake all 90 minutes. Paul Darling comes home in second. Billy Smith finishes the final podium spot. Matt Quinn quietly comes home fourth in class in another Corvette. Then we get to an Aston Martin of Stephen McGarvey, rounding out your top five. Clark Archer and Robbie Morrison go sixth and seventh in class. Ryan Huff in a Aston Martin in eighth. Paul Lindsay, David Sockrider, Troy Schuster, who had a chance to win this thing. Things went south on him. He's going to be last in the drivers who were actually racing at the end. Sam?
Yeah, the only other driver you see on this page of 10 that's not a GT3 driver is Ryan Bird. So let's run down these GT3 finishers here for you. Benjamin Hackerson wins ahead of Lauro Costa, who got second place after that final lap contact with Scott McGarvey, who drops to third. He got back on track, though, ahead of Jim McInnes in fourth. Him and Dave Hill pretty much running, not necessarily nose to tail, but one ahead of each other all race long. Dave Hill finishes in fifth place. And Pablo Silveira in sixth place in class makes it 3 Mercedes and 3 Ford GTs in the top six. Sheldon Rosenbaum seventh in GT3 ahead of Robert Jackman, who gets eighth place in class. Sheldon Woloshin and David Tejeda rounded out the top 10. Bradley Haley and Robert Sklenka rounded out the top 12 in class. And then now you get to the drivers who all ran into trouble today. The GT1 drivers here of Leif Peterson and Kevin Santana. Prototype drivers, the next three: Elliot Mimi, Scott Corbin, Sean Rees. Carter Kundina was a GT1 driver, and then even more drivers who ran into trouble, Joe.
And that should be the rest of our field, as there you see on our screen from 41st to 48th, all having severe trouble there at the end. But we have our drivers that did not have as much trouble, including our winner in the prototype, and that is going to be Jason Girard, who takes win 2 out of 3 rounds, having a very good season so far. So, Jason, you made up for the first lap incident of Road Atlanta, and in fact, had a great overtake for the lead. How'd you feel about that, managing to put one over on David Williams?
Well, I knew it was going to be tough. I mean, he was pretty faster today, and I know for that first few laps, he was just rocketing away from me, and I just couldn't catch him. Eventually, I just had to play the long game, just save my tires, and hope that was going to be enough. But thankfully, it was. I knew if I can get in front of him, that I could just rocket away from him in the second half of that stint. Thankfully, I did. I don't know what happened. He may have had some issues or something, but I was too focused on just trying to stay in front, run consistent laps, and just not run into anybody.
Yeah, you mentioned tires and having to save them. That's something that we didn't really mention or think about at all. Do you think maybe that could have affected David Williams, that he had used them up that caused him to drop back like that?
I don't know. I mean, usually when I drive, I'm pretty easy on my stuff. I'm usually using pretty much the minimum amount of fuel I possibly can and the minimum amount of tires just to stay in my position, kind of play the long game. But here, for some reason, even though there's a lot of straightaways, and really cool morning conditions, the tire wear was really bad. I mean, I was seeing lap times of almost a second and a half, 2 seconds a lap slower in that second stint with the old tires on them. So I pretty much just saved my tires and just hope for the best, and thankfully it all worked out.
Now, unfortunately, my math is not good enough to figure out where the Itasha team will sit after this, but I do know that you guys had lost the lead after last round in the points championship. Are the Itasha drivers kind of getting together and trying to take the team championship this year, or are you guys not worrying about that?
I have faith in my man Patrick Fleming that everything's going to work out just fine with his shoulder, and he's not going to need any surgery whatsoever, and he's going to be back in Sebring. I got to think positive about that. So hopefully wishing him the best in his injury. Hopefully that's healing up with that and doesn't need any surgery. And if he does, then, well, we'll just figure something out there. But for now, I'm just hoping for the best and seeing what happens.
Yeah, that's all that you can do. And he joined us up in the booth and was saying how much he was sad that he couldn't be down there with you guys racing. So he is cheering you on from the sidelines. Before I let you go, I'm going to let you give your usual thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank my Japanese people. I also want to give a special shout out to Crunchyroll as I was running a livery. They celebrated 1 million premium subscribers just over the last couple weeks ago. This will be the last time I'm running this special job. I'm going back to my normal paint scheme, so I just wanted to give them a shout out there.
All right, awesome job. Congratulations on the wins, and congrats to Crunchyroll as well. So let's go to our GT1 winner, and that's going to be Wojciech Swiatovic, appropriately enough, interviewed by Bill.
Swirly, congratulations. It took you 3 races, and you got yourself a win. Went pretty smooth for you out there.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, as they say, 3 times the charm, and I finally managed to take the win. It wasn't easy, but yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Well, let me tell you, they were coming at you from all angles. Darling, Smith, Schuster, all very fast. They all had issues with off tracks. You did not. You were able to keep it on the track the whole time. Did you have any close calls today?
No, I kind of managed to keep it in the track. I had a very safe setup. I had quite a lot of downforce. They were running me down the straight every single time, but I think just the safe way just end up good at the end.
Yeah, they might have been faster, but they lost a lot of time bringing the car back onto the track after going off into the green stuff all the time. Hey, let me ask you about your pit stop. I don't think you took tires the first time. So was there a tire stop on that final? Did you take 4 tires or 2 tires, or what did you do on your last stop?
4 tires on the last stop.
4 tires on the last one.
That's right.
Yeah, I think everyone did. You came out and you had some tight racing at the very end. You were behind Darling in the points. You pick up a few on this one. You finished ahead of them. Congratulations. You're going to be a full-time, be able to run most of the races coming up this season?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, I'm just going to try to get this Aston Martin even a bit quicker next time.
And I'm going to guess, is it you're racing from your heritage from Poland, or where's your heritage from?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I'm from Poland originally.
Where are you racing right now? Where are you right now?
Oh no, I live in Ireland, so
you're in Ireland.
From Poland, but in Ireland for the last 10 years. Got
it. Well, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you do well the rest of the way.
Lovely, thanks very much.
Wojciech Swiatovic. How'd I do? Was that close? Let's hear that last name. Are you still there, Wojciech? Let's hear you say it one more time. Last name.
Yeah, it's Wojciech Swiatovic, yeah. And
Swiatovic. No, we can do better. Swiatovic. Okay, congratulations. Good luck.
Take care.
Wojciech being our winner in the GT1 class. We'll get it eventually.
I don't have to pay for that one. We didn't know. Okay.
All right, so we've got one more to talk to. That is going to be Ben Hackison, winner in the GT3. Sam is going to talk to him about what was an interesting race to the line for him to take his first win in the series.
Yeah, Ben, just your second race in the series, third race in the season. You've walked away with the second and the first place finish. So first off, congratulations. You're looking pretty good here.
Thank you very much. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely it was, because, you know, the people who are a bit new to GT3 racing may have been a bit concerned for you after the first round of stops. You dropped far back in the pack, but then that kind of paid off in the long run when then everyone else took tyres under that second stop. You got back up front. What led to that decision to you to take tyres on the first stop?
I'd worked it all beforehand. I didn't actually fill up the tank so I could try and get on the back of them and try and scare them into taking tyres, because I thought it would be the first stop was almost near the middle of the race, so you wanted to pit on the first stop ideally, and then the second stop I think it was a bit too late to take tyres, but I think it worked out for Lauro in the end though.
Yeah, he was really running you down in the closing stages. We saw he had some good battles with the other competitors as he carved his way up through the field. How concerned were you that he was going to get you for the lead in the closing laps there?
I only spotted him about 3 laps from the end, by which time I had enough of a gap. So I wasn't ever concerned. I was just very surprised he got back up to second, because I thought he crashed at the start, not pit.
Right, no, he did have a pretty solid race. We saw him short pitting, I think, is what threw it off. How was the track and the racing out there today? It looked very clean from our perspective, and also the 91-degree track temperature should have gave you some good grip out there to race with.
Yeah, I think the temperature out there was pretty much perfect for the Mercedes on this track. Not too much grip, but enough grip so you don't go sliding around. Yeah, it felt very comfortable out there.
Well, you've proven you can get it done on twisty circuits. You've proven you can get it done here on these high-speed circuits. What about the bumpy circuits? We go to Sebring in 2 weeks' time.
I think bumpy is probably my least favourite. I'm a bit of a crash magnet on bumpy tracks.
Well, we wish the best for you then, 2 weeks to keep out of all the drama. Well, we'll let you go and celebrate your victory, Ben. Anything else you'd like to say or anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Just thanks to the admins for setting this all up and letting me in.
Yeah, absolutely. We love the shows that they put on too. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Ben, and go and enjoy your win.
Thank you.
That was Ben Hackison, our winner in the GT3 class. We've had 2 new winners in this series and this race alone. So that fresh blood really coming to the fore early on in the season. However, we are now at the end of the broadcast. That means we have to close up with some thank yous. Thank you to the Autobahn Motorcar Group, who are the official sponsor of this series. And of course, thanks to John Ulmer, the organizer, who does a lot of work behind the scenes to put this thing on. Thanks to the software and hardware that we use for our broadcast. You can see listed on your screen. Additional thanks to our musical contributors Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, whose music you can also find at the websites listed. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Sam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Next race is going to be at Sebring, as Sam mentioned. That'll be Monday, March 20th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. A very bumpy track, like you mentioned, should be very challenging with some close barriers on either side. We also have upcoming races for other series on screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.